And we're live. Oh, wait, sorry. I was just churning the rumor mill. My bad. My bad. My bad. I'm sorry. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, whatever time it is for you right now. Just know that you are locked in onto the point with the king. You guys know what to do. Find us, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, while you're running around, listen to your Walkman like the coach does. You know, maybe while you're working out, going grocery shopping, whatever. We enjoy your comments. We enjoy your likes. We enjoy that you enjoy out there our fantastic guests, especially my man right there. I'm going to say it all the way from the East Coast, the one and only coach, Tim Roache. How are you doing today, brother?
And for once, I'm on the East Coast speaking to you right now. So I'm
Yo,
good,
bring me back
man.
some lobster.
Going, okay. No problem.
Everything's all good, brother?
Everything's good, man. Good to be back on the show.
Oh, it's always a pleasure having you, man. Mi casa es su casa. So let's get into this. Like I alluded to with that opening joke, I don't know if y'all liked it or not, right? It's spending time in an Amish paradise, but apparently the rumor mill has been churning, and regarding your Toronto Raptors, and we've seen multiple trades, but there's one team that has been linked to Toronto in multiple scenarios for a trade, major trade, which is the Portland Trail Blazers. Now, we have seen so many out there, Coach. You and I have spoken about this earlier prior to recording. And can I ask you, can you educate us, me as a fan, and our fantastic To The Point family out there, the viewers, on what rumor trades have you seen for the Toronto Raptors and the Portland Trail Blazers?
Well, this all started last year in 2022 when Jake Fisher had tweeted about OG Anunoby's looking for a bigger role somewhere. And then Portland came in the mix because they're trying to build around Dame and Dame's timeline. Dame's prime, he might have 2 years left on it. Yeah. Oh, it's Dame time right now, and the clock's ticking. So last year, I guess there was a lot of interest in in OG, and they had the 7th pick last year. And I guess they were trying to work out a deal with Masai. Raptors said no, wasn't enough. They asked for more. They went and drafted Shaedon Sharpe. Move forward about 12 months. Portland has a very terrible year. Shaedon Sharpe, though, was a bright spot for them.
Yes.
And I think it was at their end of year press conference where Portland basically said, we are in win now mode. We're trying to build around Dame. And a couple of nights ago during the lottery, Portland moved up in the draft. They weren't supposed to get the 3rd pick. I think it was somewhere supposed to be around 5 and 7, but they moved into the top 3.
But go on.
I think it might have been, yeah. But anyways, they moved into the top 3, which was a big shock. So most people view this as a 3-person draft with Wemby, Scoot, Henderson, Brandon Miller. So Portland is in a very interesting position right now. And because of the Raptors, I'll say season last year, which was not very good. They finished 500, but not very good. A lot has come out about their off season and what it might look like. And once again, OG Anunoby is now back on the trade block because he has 1 year left on his deal before he hits the U of A. But so does Pascal Siakam. 1 more year left before he hits the U of A. It's a big, big decision for the Toronto Raptors on what to do moving forward. To get a little bit younger with Scotty's timeline, or do you keep building through the middle out, which more or less Masai has been doing over the last year or so. So I guess with Portland, that's been the biggest rumor mill right now. They're trying to trade that 3rd pick. Toronto has come up many, many times. I know Atlanta has come up with John Collins. I think Brandon Ingram's come up with New Orleans and stuff like that. But you pair one of Toronto's pieces, I'm sure Portland wants Siakam. Why wouldn't they? You put him with Dame, it's attractive to them. we already know their interest in OG. So um, it's interesting times for Portland, but also for Toronto.
Okay, you just said some stuff there, and I'm gonna go off script. Why is Portland the destination as opposed to other teams who do have valuable players and would love to have Pascal or OG or a Boucher or any of the players on the Raptors? Why Portland specifically?
Well, I think Portland, they have assets. They do have some young players, one being Anthony Simons. They got this year's pick, the number 3 pick. Got Shaden Sharp, good Ontario guy, with high upside as well. And some that he was putting up big numbers towards the end of the season as well. So they got some trade pieces. Aim is like 33, Sharp is like 19. A new pick coming in is going to be about 19. So the timelines don't match up. Rarely, when you have someone who's 33 and someone who's 20, rarely does it work out in terms of peak timelines. One guy's going to not hit his peak, he'll fall off. Sharp and this new picks, their peak eventually will be in a couple of years.
So you're basically telling me it's go big or go home with Dame,
100%. That's their plan.
Or reconstruct. Okay. Yeah, I totally get that. Now, if the Raptors were to take the bait and bite on that hook, which specific players do you see that can come from Portland? Because I did also hear Dame's name coming to Toronto, right? But which specific players do you see coming from Portland to Toronto? Do you think it might be just a young thing with draft picks and young guys, and the Raptors rebuilding around Scotty, which you alluded to earlier just now? You got Scotty, you got Polako, you got Precious, you got these young guys.
Well, the issue with Siakam is Portland has to make the money work. It's a lot that they would have to put on the table, maybe more so than what they want to do.
They kind of did it with McCollum, but
yep. For a guy like Siakam, it would take Simons, probably Sharp, that 3rd pick. It might even take more. I'm not sure. So I doubt Portland wants to do that, and I doubt the Raptors want to do that. Anunoby, however, you don't have to put as much money on the table. Anunoby, I think, makes less now than Anthony Simons, but he's going to make more soon once his contract is up. So more things can be worked out around Anunoby and something else from the Raptors for a guy like Simons and that 3rd overall pick. But they also have the 23rd pick overall as well. Mm-hmm. And, look, the Raptors can flip some of these too. Once they receive it, maybe they flip it somewhere else. So Simons, 38% from 3. What is it that we struggle with?
Threes,
yep. And it's very much likely that Charlotte's going to pick Brandon Miller. They were last in 3-point shooting. What does Brandon Miller do well? He shoots threes very, very well, over 40%. So that basically means Scoot Henderson is going to be there with the 3rd pick. They're not going to pair Scoot and Dame together. And they're going to have Simons, Lillard, and Scoot. Not going to work. So one of those guys, if not both, will have to go if they're going to make a trade.
Okay. Speaking of what we just talked about, who Portland would send out, who the Raptors would get from Portland to bring them to that next level based on whatever system they have now that you're gone. I mean, your doppelganger's gone, right? So now that you just touched on the amount of room, the amount of space for these 3 certain players on Portland, but let's talk about Toronto on this side, right? Because these names that we're bringing up are mainly guards, right? They can run the point, they can run the 2, they can do the 1 and the 2. Okay, now Toronto is pretty stacked on the 1 and 2 end, right? Does this mean that this is a window, or Toronto has an idea, if they were to pull this off, that maybe Gary Trent could possibly leave, considering he will be a free agent unless he exercises player option. Fred VanVleet can be on his way out. Mind you, both of them are signed to Clutch Sports, and we all know LeBron's boy loves to get money off these guys, right, and demand a lot. Do you think there is, what's that saying? Three's company? Yeah, right. Do you think there is room for these players? And I like what you said earlier about Toronto going young. Sorry, I'm gonna go off here. Toronto going young. If you were to get a Sharp and a Simons, right? Shout out Skip. If you were to get one of those, or maybe two of those, and maybe some draft picks, would that be beneficial to Toronto instead of keeping contemporary within this tough Eastern Conference and them looking forward? Trust the process. And what are your thoughts on like who might be on the way out? Because Toronto does have some veterans. And if they were to retain these players, who do you think would be on their way out?
So I think Siakam's going to stay. It would take a lot for Masai to part with him. Like he would ask for Simons, Sharp, third pick, and probably more, knowing him. Don't see Portland doing that. But that's probably what it would cost. With OG, however, that's different. I think with OG, Simons in the third pick would get it done. We could include Thad Young in the deal as well. That expiring contract would be, Portland would like that, I think. So the problem is, to me, it's not Simons and it's not the pick. It's Simons and the pick, which is likely going to be Scoot Henderson. Scoot 6'2", 6'3". Simons is 6'2" or 6'3". There's your backcourt. A little small backcourt to my liking. So I don't like the fit of Simons and Scoot. To me, it'd be more about getting the pick than it is getting Simons. Maybe you flip Simons somewhere else. You get other assets back for him that would fit this team better. Now, if you're just getting Simons and you have, let's just say Scoot goes to Charlotte. Charlotte says, no, we're not taking Miller. We're going to take Scoot. And now Portland's on the clock with Brandon Miller. Now, if you bring in Simons and Miller to come play with Scotty and Siakam and Pirtle, that's a better fit now. Brandon Miller shoots over 40% from three. Much better fit with Pascal and Scotty. You got Simons who shoots 38% from three. That's your backcourt. That's different.
Okay, but in regards to as who on their way out, in regards to Freddie and Gary Trent, who do you think would be a replacement coming from Portland? Do you think one of them would have to go? All of them would have to go? We need to keep them?
I think Fred would be gone. If Scoot Henderson comes in, I'm thinking Fred's gone, and or Anthony Simons. With Gary's it's a mystery right now with him because the way this season ended, he definitely wasn't happy. Don't know there's going to be a big free agent market for him. Don't know yet. Gary's the one I don't know about. I doubt he comes back, but I think if you got one of Simons or Scoot, Fred's gone.
Okay. Let me tell you something. As someone, well, not a Raptors fan, but someone that follows them very closely, I've noticed we've seen this over the years, regardless of the professional sport. When a team, and now that social media is out there, when a team posts a picture of like their main guys, I have not seen Freddie. So I think that's a telltale sign that he can possibly be on his way out. I'm sorry, Mom. Your favorite player might leave the Raptors. I'm sorry. But that's what it leans towards too. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes. We're just a couple guys on YouTube talking too much shit, right? Now with you saying with Freddie gone, I think a telltale sign when we see some sort of confirmation about possibly like a trade coming through and a new guard coming in. because we know they want to keep Scotty near the front court, right? Occasionally bringing up the ball, right? But not the main point guard. We all seen that they haven't put too much trust into Malachi as the point guard. So that's one of the keys that the Raptors are lacking. So do you think that if they do pull the trigger, wait, let me do a John Morant here, right? If they do pull the trigger on something, do you think Freddie is actually gone for sure? Can we talk about this? Because we got a lot of time right now.
Yeah. A deal like this involving Simons and or Scoot. I'll say Simons first. Simons comes in, I think Fred's gone.
Okay.
Scoot is the one guy in the draft who I think could start on a team right away. Is there a slight possibility they would want to bring him in off the bench and play him in the six-man role? Possibly. Not advocating for it because I think his talent is too high. It's tantalizing what he can do on the basketball court.
Yeah.
If I had Scoot in here, you'd have Scoot and Scotty for the next 10 years. And that would cost you Fred VanVleet. That means Fred likely would not be coming back. You'd have to work out a sign and trade, or he just goes. Because San Antonio has a lot of cap room. They got a lot of young kids. And they got Wemby coming in. They might want a veteran guard to come in and kind of run the offense, orchestrate the show, and while they're developing this 7'5" kid with a tremendous amount of potential.
Do you think, speaking of Portland, do you think, what's his name, Nurkic can be part of any sort of deal to come to Toronto?
Could be, but he would probably be facilitated to go somewhere else. And because I don't think they're going to have Hurdle and Nurkic and Koloko all on the same team. If Nurkic is coming back, it's only for like cap reasons. That's why. And then probably a third team is going to pick him up, and then we get assets back from that. I don't see them wanting to bring on Nurkic when they already have Hurdle. Their games are a little too similar for me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. You just blew my mind there. Okay, so also regarding like with the Raptors possibly being in trade mode, let me ask you just a real question here. You think they're gonna do it?
Is Portland deal?
You think they're gonna pull the trade? You think Masai's gonna go balls out and do that?
Truthfully, no, not his style. He's never really been this aggressive in the draft before. He would really have to love Scoot. Although, if he really wants him, he can get him in this draft, 100%. But it's not really their style to be this aggressive. They like to stay put. I think they'll make the 13th selection. I hope they get a second first-round pick. I think they need it because they don't have a pick next year.
Yeah.
And unless they're really bad next year, then it's 2025 they won't have a pick. But I highly doubt that. I think it will just be next year they won't have the pick. So, truthfully, no. I don't think Masai would pull off this deal. I'd be really shocked if he did. It's out of his character to do so.
Interesting. Okay. But do you think maybe let's get into this since you're his doppelganger. Now that Nick Nurse is gone, the system might change on the floor depending on which coach they bring in. Obviously, you and I both coach. We know that's what it is. Do you think they might just say basically like screw it? You know, we're staying with what we got and maybe the system can change? Or do you think that, okay, since the system is going the way we want to and we're going to put in this coach, whoever their name is, we're going to put in this coach, maybe now we can go out and retool the roster and get these certain players to fit our system?
I think it's going to be a little bit of both. I think a new coach will come in and put a new system in, but I definitely think there's going to be changes. And I say that because Masai in his end of season presser kept saying one word over and over and over again: selfish. We were too selfish this year. To me, that indicates change. Do I think it's a Siakam change? No, I don't think it's that. Could it be an OG Fred and or Gary along with a couple of the bench pieces change? It could be. It's going to be tough for Masai to part with OG. He loves him a lot. I
Yeah,
see him. I think they're going to look at the redundancy on this team and try to address the needs that way. Or that's the way that I would do it. You're a terrible shooting team. You're not in the playoffs right now because you couldn't shoot the basketball. So next year, those
go on.
if they want to get to the next level.
You said something there. And you and I, we've coached, so we're basically like, I guess you could say, on a ball court, shepherds herding the sheep, right? Right? No, it's serious. It's a weird analogy, but it's true. Am I correct?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So when you just said something there, you use that key word, selfish, right? We both know what it's like to deal with selfish players within the locker room, despite their talents, despite how great they are, right? And what they could do and what they could how they could perform on the court, right? We've seen a lot of selfishness. And honestly, one of the things uh, on the outside, just watching this, I've seen some of the names you mentioned. I've seen Freddie doing commercials. I've seen OG doing commercials. I've seen Pascal doing commercials. The other night I went out before work. It was like 3 a.m. I went to the store, and when I went to pay, on the screen, it was a picture of Chris Boucher on the screen. It told me this is how much it costs, and there's a picture of Chris Boucher. Can't remember what product it was for, but we see Nick Nurse doing TV shows and his own endorsements and working on his own line. Freddie even working on his own line. Like we've seen all these Scotty on Subway commercials, right? We've seen a lot of these players. Yeah, good for them. Kudos. Get yours. Get your money while it lasts.
Yep.
Right?
100%.
Good for you. But it does kind of take your mind state off of the court. And I think that at this point we realize with a lot of these players now, like I mentioned earlier, Clutch Sports, some of these guys are just trying to get money. That's all they're really trying to get. And that might be the mentality, which I think deteriorates the game and sucks for us as fans, right? Watching the game, rooting for these guys, hoping for the best, and having their mind state somewhere. And you having to deal with this before. What do you think about the Toronto Raptors with some of these players getting to shine and, the spotlight? Because that can hurt you. It can either humble you or make you arrogant, right? And do you think that outside effect off of the court really hurt the team this year?
It could have contributed to it a little bit. I think the NBA players today, and I'm kind of speaking in a general standpoint here, but
Okay.
all the things, the commercials that the Raptors players are in, most players in the NBA, they're in their respective states. So if you're, Steph Curry will be in a ton of commercials, or LaMelo Ball will be in a ton of commercials. I think that just kind of comes with the territory today. But it's about having, I'm sure, having good role models in the locker room, good people in the organization to help these players stay grounded a bit. Because, if you're 20 to 21 years old and you're making 10 million, 20 million, 40 million a year, that's a lot of money for when you're 20 years old. You can feel a bit invincible, stuff like that.
That's
So
go on, please.
Yeah.
Please educate.
And so was that a factor for the Raptors this year? Partially it could have been, but I just think there were more factors around the offense that was. Fred had commented how chaotic it was. They played without a true 7-footer this year for most of the year till Pirtle came in. They were one of the worst shooting teams, and once the losses start to pile up, sometimes that can be really tough to come back from. They had some injuries early on. We heard all kinds of rumors that there was problems in the locker room with Nurse and the players. I almost think it was more of an internal problem than it was an external problem for this basketball team. And that's why Nurse is essentially gone. And that's why I'm interviewing in Philadelphia this week for the job. I'm going to be coaching Embiid.
Great joke. Well, okay, my 2 cents that I want to put in on that one is I believe that like you just said, the internal problems in the locker room and the offense and the roles not defined. It's that all these guys were like jockeying for position because outside, right, they're getting all these whispers in their ear about, yo, you're the man, bro, you're the man, you're the man. And it kind of turns people on each other, right? I think so. I honestly think that might have had an effect on them in the locker room, which translated to their performance on the court, right? Which could have been something because it's like, hey, you could be the man, bro. You go get all that money, right? Once you got these people in your head saying that, and you're seeing it on TV, it's like I just said, people take it 2 different ways. They're either humbled or their head is in the clouds and they're just arrogant, right? And they're trying to jockey for position. I think I've seen it. I'm just saying that's just my thought. I think I've seen it kind of translate onto the court because prior to these guys getting these big contracts, these endorsements off the court and TV shows and whatever, right? I noticed they were playing more as a cohesive unit as opposed to just random guys down the street playing 5-on-5 and everybody wants the ball, right? That's just how I see it. That's just how I call it. Instead of people playing their role. However, yes, I'm talking to you. When you go to Philly, you better make sure they define the roles because the roles were not really defined. Now, with that said, Coach, I love you, brother. Time is ticking. So the floor is yours for the next few minutes. Anything you want to say out there, as long as it's not racist, political, or a lot of cursing. Don't get it twisted. You can say fuck if you want, but not
No,
not consistent. Not just don't go overboard.
yeah, not my character. You got no worries there. All good.
The floor is yours, my friend. Anything you want to say about the NBA or the Raptors, go for it.
So this Portland deal is become very interesting, and I think the question that Masai and staff want to ask is, do we want Scoot Henderson? Do we want Scoot to be the point guard of this team moving forward? And if they believe in him, then go and make the deal. It's not the best fit with 3 other players who don't shoot the ball well, but you probably figure that out later. If they feel that Brandon Miller is going to be there at 3 and Scoot will go beforehand, you probably try to make a deal for that. You get better shooting, you get another big wing. It's a better fit with Siakam and Scotty. So I think if this deal is there, that's their decision to make. That could be kind of their big season move is which direction do we go in? Do we make this deal? We lose OG because it's going to cost them OG to get Scoot Henderson or Brandon Miller. Or do we play it safe? We'll keep our 13th pick. That's going to be a valuable pick, too. You're going to get a good player at 13, so you don't have to make this deal. But it's a swing for the fence move if you go for 3. This organization, besides the Kawhi move, they haven't really swung for the fence as much since then.
Yep.
Fine. So it's going to get very interesting over the next month or so to see what they're going to do. I think the pressure is on right now for Masai to do something because, let's face it, the last 2 or 3 years, it hasn't been good. Okay. And I think in this press conference, he made it clear there's going to be changes. And I think we're going to see changes. To what scale? Who knows?
Next episode, ladies and gentlemen, making our predictions for the next draft pick for your Toronto Raptors at number 13. So far. Okay. It won't be just us. There will be other people coming on to send in their predictions. So we hope you guys enjoy that. We're going to get out of here. So let's do it. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, and
peace.